Recording in progress.
Okay, let's resume the class now. Yeah, so I have been talking about these two things particularly, among other things. One is the narrative, the other is the teachings that are provided. Narrative refers to the storyline. Okay, as I said earlier, that sometimes you have just one story that probably in a particular place Buddha is meeting some students and providing his teaching, right? It could be that he himself is just providing the description on a particular teaching, or it could be that somebody asks him a question and then based on that he provides his teaching. But sometimes there are more than one stories, so those are considered as narratives. Okay, who are the people involved in the discussion, and then the movement from one place to another, or probably in different meeting there are different people talking about different topics. So all these come under the discussion of narrative. Okay, and the teachings, you all understand the teachings that are presented, that are mentioned and discussed in the text. Those are the teachings. Okay, now let's look at this. Yeah, this is from suttacentral.net. This is a very good website. Here you can find most of the suttas, their translation and Pali. Sometimes you have translation of suttas in different languages. Okay, not just in English. Okay, let's quickly look at this sutta, Rathavinita Sutta. So how it begins, Evang me sutang ekang samayang bhagava rajagahe viharati veluvane kalandaka nivapi. So I have heard, at one time the Buddha was staying near Rajagaha in the bamboo grove, the squirrel's feeding place. So this is the first statement, right? Now you have commentary to look at. So if you have this program, where is it? Cannot find it. Yeah, this one you can download and install in your computer. Then you should be able to look at the Pali text. We are talking about Rathavinita Sutta, that is Sutta number 24. So it comes under Opamma Vagga, the section on simile. Opamma means simile, should be Sutta number 4. Rathavinita Sutta. The number here it says 252. You can click on Attakata. You have Attakata here. Okay. So what does it tell us? Evang me sutanti Rathavinita Suttan. So when it says Evang me Suttan, it is particularly on this occasion, it is referring to Rathavinita Sutta only. Okay. Tattha Rajagaheti eva namake nagare. Tanghi mandatu mahagovindadihi parikahitatta Rajagahanti Vuchati. Now here you would find an explanation of Rajagaha. What does it mean by Rajagaha? So in the first expression, it says that Rajagaha here refers to a city by that name. Okay, why this city is called Rajagaha? It says Tanghi Mandatu Mahagobindadihi Parigahitatta Rajagahanti Puchati. It is called Rajagaha because this place has been surrounded by or occupied by kings such as Mandatu Mahagovinda. So these are names of kings. Now, in the discussion of kings in Pali Buddhist literature, you would find that when talking about early kings, you have these names appearing, in the list. Okay, so these are proper names, and I hope you are familiar with this text called Dictionary of Pali Proper Name by Professor Malala Sekara. You can, if you want to have more information on any proper name, appeared in Pali text, Pali literature, you can, check this text, Dictionary of Pali Proper Name. Okay, Mandatu and Mahagovinda. Anyepi etta pakare varnayanti. But apart from that, the commentator says that there is other explanation to that. So he says, Anyepi etta pakare varnayanti. There are other people who explain it in this way. King Tehi. What is their explanation? How they explain it? Nama metam tassan nagarasa. This is the name of that city. That is okay. So further explanation says, Thang pana etang buddha kalecha chakkavatti kalecha nagarang huti se sakale sunyang huti yakka parigahitang desang vasantavanang hutva tiktati. It says that this place, in the time of the Buddhas and in the time of Chakkavatti kings, this is a city, right? But se sakale, in the remaining period, when there is no Buddha, when there is no king, sunyang hoti, it is considered as an empty place, no people living there, right? Yakka parigahitang, there are just yakkas. Okay, so yakkas are not human. They are some kind of spirits, I guess. Tesang vasantavanang hutva tittati. Now this is interesting. This expression, vasantavanang. Vasantavanang could be translated as spring forest. Right? So it says that this place becomes their spring forest. Okay. Veluvane kalandaka nivapeti veluvananti tassa uyanassa namang. In the expression Veluvane kalandaka nivape, when it says in the bamboo group, the squirrels feeding ground, Veluvane kalandaka nivape. In this expression, Veluvana refers to the name of that Uyana, that park, name of that park. Okay. Tankira Veluhi Parikitang Ahose. Attarasa Hattena cha Pakarena Gopurattalakayuttang Nilobasam Manoramam. Tena Veluvananti Buchati. Why it is called Veluvana? First of all, it is the name of that park. Secondly, this place was surrounded by Velu, means bamboo group. This place is full of bamboos. Okay. Plus Attarasa Hattena cha Pakarena Gopurattalakayuttang Nilobasam Manoramam. So about 18 cubit high, there was a wall surrounding this park, and there was Gopurattalakayuttang. Attached to this pakara, this wall, there was a watchtower. Nilobasang Manoraman. It is bright in blue and pleasant. So this is that is why it is called Veluvana. This is the explanation you can find here. But in the Tika, you have further explanation in the Tika. It says, since it was made by a king, it was a specific park for a king. So it was, surrounded by this wall, which is 18 cubit high. And then this watchtower was made because of that. Because the king would go to this, spend some time in this Uyana, in this park. Kalandaka nanchetta nibapang adangsu. Food were given to squirrels in this place. Thena kalandaka nivapo bucchati. And because of that, this is called a feeding place for squirrels. Squirrels feeding place. Now you have attached to that, you have further explanation here why it is called specifically a feeding place for squirrels. So there is a story attached to that. Pubekira anyataru raja tatta uyana kilanatang agato suramadena matto divaseyang pagato supi. Earlier there was a king who went there for the enjoyment, for the amusement, and being intoxicated by sura, liquor, right? Sura madena matto, divasayang upagato supi. By the end of the day, he fall asleep. Parijanopiassa sutu rajati pupapaladihi palobiyamano ito chitocha pakkami. His retinue, the people that followed him, when they saw that king is asleep, king fall asleep, they thought that probably we can go here and there, collect some fruits and flower, right? Atha then sura gandena anya tarasma susira rukka kanhasapo nikkamitwa ranyabimoko agachati. After that, what happened? Because of this smell of liquor, anya tarasma susira rukka, from a certain hollow tree. Kanhasapo, kanha means black, a black snake. So black snake here referring to a poisonous snake. Okay. Nikkamitwa, coming out of this tree, Ranyavimuku agachati, is proceeding towards the king, right? Tang diswa Rukka devata Ranyo jivitam dammiti kalaka pesena agantua kannamula sabdamakase. Having seen that, a certain devata tree god, thinking Ranyo jivitang dammiti, I should give life to the king. I should, give him a sound. I should make him awake, right? So that he can escape this, poisonous snake. Kalaka vesena agamita. Kalaka here means a squirrel. In the guise of squirrel, he came to the king, Kannamula Sabdamakase, and he made a sound, a squirrel sound, near the king's ear. Raja Patibuji, Raja was awake. Kanhasapo Nivattu, the black snake left. So Tang Diswa, so means here the king. Having seen this, Imaya Mama Jivitang Dinnanti. Kalakanan Katta Nivapang Pattapesi. Abaya Gosa Nancha Gosa Pesi. Having seen this incident, that squirrel is saving him from this poisonous snake, black snake, king thought, Imaya Mama Jivitang Dinnanti. My life was granted by this squirrel. So I should make a place for these squirrels. And this place would be Abhaya, free of fear for these kalakas. Nobody can harm them. People will come to feed them only. Okay. Tasma tang tato paboti kalandaka nibapoti. From that, because of that incident, from that time onwards, from that moment onwards, it was announced to be a feeding place for the squirrel. Kalandakati kalakanang namang. Now here you find kalandaka when it says veluvane kalandaka nivape. The word for squirrel used is kalandaka, but here you have another word kalaka, right? Kalaka vesena. So you have a synonym. Okay, so a squirrel kalandaka should be also known as kalaka. Kalaka is another name for kalandaka. So this much is the explanation for this first statement. Okay, especially Rajagaha, Beluvana, and Kalandaka Nibaba. So this is just to give you some example. Now let's look at this passage here. Atako sambahula jati bhumaka bhikku jati bhumiyang vasangutta yena bhagava tenu pasankamingsu pasankamitva bhagavantang abhivadetva ekamantang nisidingsu ekamantang nisinne ko te bhikku bhagava etadavocha. After that, several mendicants who had completed their rainy season, that is Vasa, rainy retreat, 3 months rainy retreat, residence in their native land. But yeah, I think from the native land, in the native land, yes. But still, it is not very sure if it is their native land, right? Because there is explanation with regard to Jati Bhumi that we can find in the commentary. Okay, Jati Bhumi means birthplace, native land. Went to the Buddha, bowed and sat down to one side. The Buddha said to them, Konoko bhikkave jati bhumiyang jati bhumakanang bhikkhunan sabrahmacharinang evang sambhavitu. Then the description of 10 talks. Attanacha appichu appicha katancha bhikkhunan katta. Attanacha santuttu santutti katancha bhikkhunan katta. Attanacha pavittu paviveka katancha bhikkhunan katta. Attanacha asangsattu asangsagga katancha bhikkhunan katta. Attanacha aradha viriyo viriyaramba katancha bhikkhunan katta. Attanacha sila sampanno sila sampada katancha bhikkhunan katta. Attanacha samadhi sampanno samadhi sampada katancha bhikkhunan katta. Attanacha panya sampanno panya sampada katancha bhikkhunan katta. Attanacha vimutti sampanno vimutti sampada katancha bhikkhunan katta. Attanacha vimuttiyana dasana sampanno vimuttiyana dasana sampada katancha bhikkhunan katta. Ovadako vinyapako sandarsako samadapako samuttejako sampasangsako sabrahmacharinanti. So this was the Buddha's question. Now in the question of the Buddha we find that the Buddha is mentioning about these 10 subjects of discourse. So this was his specific question. In the birthplace, O monks, who is it who teach you this 10 talks? So he doesn't just teach, he himself is established in this talk. And in the commentarial exposition, we come to know that if somebody who is not established in these 10 practices is not qualified to teach. Okay, they can carry out the teaching, but then it is not accepted as proper teaching. The Buddha did not encourage that. But Punnamantani Putta, in their reply, for example, they say that Punno nama bante ayasma mantane putto jati bhumiyang jati bhumakanang bhikkhunan sabrahmacharinang evang sambhavitu. In this particular way, it is Venerable Sir, it is Punnamantani Putta who has been teaching us these 10 subjects of talk. Personally having few wishes, they speak to the mendicants on having few wishes. Attanacha appichu appicha katancha bhikkhunan katta. Being himself established on this talk, on this practice, he teaches it to others. Okay, The Buddha did not ask that, is there such a monk who can teach you these 10 talks? His question was, is there such a monk in the birthplace who himself has been practicing these 10 talks and he teaches them to others? How does he teach? Ovadaku, Vinyapaku, Sandasaku, Samadhapaku, Samutejaku, Sampasangsaku, Sabrahmacharina. He doesn't just teach. He instructs, he educates, he encourages, he fires up. Fires up means, pushing them forward in the practice, inspires them. Yeah. They are spiritual companions. Can turn on fan, or if you feel too hot. Yes. Now, as I said, when it is referring to native place or birthplace, what is the explanation we have in the commentary? So you have this explanation here. Jati bhuma kati jati bhuma vasanu. When it says dweller of birthplace, it means some people who are dwelling in the birthplace. But whose birthplace is this? Why this particular expression birthplace is mentioned? Tattha jati bhumiti jatathanam. Birthplace in the sense of a place where people are born, right? Tanku panetang neva kusala maha rajadinang na chanki brahmanadinang na sakka swiyama santusitadinang na asiti mahasavakadinang na anyesang sattanang jatattanang jati bhumi uchati. So this is the explanation provided here. It says that it is not called jati bhumi, it is not called birthplace of King Kosala, the great King Kosala and so on. It is not a birthplace of famous Brahmin, Chanki Brahmin and so on. It is not a birthplace of Sakka, Suyama, Santusita. These are gods actually. And it is not a birthplace of Asiti Mahasavaka, 80 great disciples. Then, Yassapana Jata Divase, Dasasahasya Lokadatu, Ekadaja Mala Vippakinna Kusuma Vasa Chunnaganda Suganda Sabba Pali Pullamiva Nandanavanang Virochamana Padumini Panne Udakavindu Via Akampita Jachatta Jachandadinancha Rupadasana Anekani Patihariyani Pavatinsu Tassa Sabbanyus Sambodhisatassa Sabbanyo Bodhisattvasa Jatattana Sakya Janapado Kapilavatta Harocha Sa Jati Bhumiti Uchat. So this is the explanation provided. It says that somebody was born there in whose birthday Yassapana Jata Divase, in whose birthday Dasasahasya Lokadatu, 10,000 world system, Ekadajamala, raising just one flag, Vippakinna, Kusumavasa, Chunnaganda, Suganda, with all kinds of aromatic powder and cosmetics and so on, putting them together, Sabba Pali Pullamiva Nandanavanang, decorating the Nandanavana, beautiful garden, with all kinds of things. Padumini Panne Udakavinduviya Kampita. Decorated Viruchamana Padumini Panne Udakavinduviya Akampita. Padumini Panne means on lotus leaf, Udakavinduviya Akampita. When you put water on a lotus leaf, when it doesn't move, it looks beautiful. In the same way, decorating everything. Jachandadinancha Rupadasanadehi Anekani Patihariyani Pavatinsu. And in the same day, on his birthday, a lot of miracles happened. For example, those who are blind by birth, they were able to see forms, you know. Tassa Sabbayo Bodhisattvassa Jatattana Sakya Janapado Kapilavattaharosa Jatibhumiti Uchyate. So birthplace refers to the birthplace of this omniscient Bodhisattva, and that is Kapilavattu. So I think it gives us an understanding that all these people, it seems like a lot of people. I think in somewhere else there is a mention of 500 monks who approached the Buddha. So all these people who have been living there, all of them are not born there. Probably they went there from different other places. They have been living there. So when it says from Jatibhumi or in the Jatibhumi, the expression Jatibhumi should be understood in relation to Buddha's birthplace, Kapilavattu. So that is the clarification provided in the commentary, which is not found in the sutta, right? Okay, let's move on very quickly. Okay, Tena Kopana Samayena Ayasma Sariputta Bhagavato Avidure Nisinno Hoti. So Sariputta was sitting close to the Buddha. Atako Ayasmato Sariputta Sadadahosi. And when these monks talking about Punnamantani Putta, this thought came into Sariputta's mind. He said, Laba Ayasmantu Punnasa Mantani Puttasa Suladda Laba Ayasmatu Punnasa Mantani Puttasa Yassa Vinyosa Brahmachari Sattu Sammuka Anumasa Vannang Bhasanti Tancha Satta Abbanumodati. So it says he says that he was thinking that it is a great gain for Punnamantani Putta that his co-dwelling monks, his Sabrahmachari, who are also wise, and they are praising him in front of the Buddha, Satta Sammukha, Anumasa, point by point. And Tancha Satta Abhanumodanti. And the Buddha is approving them. Okay? It can happen that you praise somebody in front of somebody else and he doesn't accept it, right? But in this case, this group of monks who have been practicing these 10 talks under this monk, Punnamantani Putta, when asked by the Buddha, they are praising Punnamantani Putta in front of the Buddha, right? And then the Buddha is accepting it. Buddha is approving it. Appeva nama mayampi kadachi karahachi ayasmata punnena mantani puttena sadding samagacheyama appeva nama siya kuchideva kata sallapoti. So this thought came into his mind that I must meet this monk. He seems to be very wise and people are praising him. Buddha is also approving it. So when there is an occasion, I would like to meet him and have a Dhamma discussion. That was his thought. Atako Bhagava Rajagahe Yatavirantang Viharitva Yena Savati Tena Chankam Charikang Pakkami. So as long as he desired, he stayed in Rajagaha. After that, he moved to Savatthi. Now in the commentary, you would find why does the Buddha moves from one place to another? How long does he stay in a particular place and why? Why does he stay in a particular place? Why does he move to another place? Okay, so if you are having this journal published by IBC, first volume, there is an essay by me on this, okay, based on this only. And it is based on the Attakatha explanation on Charikadi Vannana. What is the reason of Buddha's wandering from place to place? Okay, there you can find the explanation. Anupubena charikang charamano yena savatti tadavasari tatra sudang bhagava savatyang viharati jetavani anata pindikassa arame asoseko ayasma punnu mantani putto bhagava kira savatting anuppatto savatyang viharati jetavani anata pindikassa arameti ataku ayasma punnu mantani putto senasanang samsametva pattachivaramādāya yena savatti tena charikang pakkami. Anupubena charikang charamano yena savatti jetavanang anata pindikassa aramu yena bhagavatenu upasankami upasankamitva bhagavantang abhivadetva ekamantang nisiti. So this whole thing says that Buddha moved to Savatthi, and then um, Punnamantani Putta came to know that Buddha moved to Savatthi, and then he was deciding to go there to meet the Buddha. So finally he came to meet the Buddha. Now the question is, yeah, as I said, why Buddha stays in a particular place and move to other place? You can find the description in the commentary. Very briefly, it says that he doesn't stay in a place looking at the comfortable situation of the place. He doesn't consider that, the condition of water is good, living place is good, so I should stay here. People here are kind, they take care of me well. He doesn't consider that. He consider if people need dhamma, if people are eager to, listen to the dhamma, if he feels the need, he stays. Now, attached to that, there are explanations in the commentary, lengthy discussion. I do not have time to look at every line. I just tell you very briefly. On one occasion, when the Buddha was living, all these great people, Nathapindika and so on, they were not able to stop him. Okay, so Anathapindika had several, slaves, people working for him. One of the slave girl, her name was also Punna. She saw that her master Anathapindika is sad, so she approached Anathapindika and asked, "What happened to you, sir? Why you look dissatisfied? Why you look sad?" Then Anathapindika said, "Buddha is leaving today, and I cannot stop him. So when he leaves, I cannot stop him. He said that, maybe if you allow me, I can try to stop the Buddha." Then Anathapindika said, "Can you really do that? If you are able to stop the Buddha from going away, I would release you from this position of slave. I would make you my daughter." That was the promise. And then she said, "Okay, I'll try my best." And she went, when the Buddha was leaving, she went before the Buddha and she said that, "Please don't go away, Buddha, stay back." Then the Buddha said, "Why should I stay back? You are working, I know you are working under Anathapindika. What do you have to offer me? Do you have anything to offer me?" So she said, "Venerable sir, you know that I depend on others, so I do not really have anything to offer you. But on the condition of your staying back, your return, I promise that I would get established in the Dhamma." Then the Buddha was moved by her statement, and the Buddha said that, "Okay, I'm not going away." And then the Buddha returned, and she approached the Buddha, listened to the Dhamma, and then she, renounced her home life. She became a bhikkhuni and attained arahant. And Buddha praised her very much. Anathapindika and everyone was very happy. So this is this is a story attached to this explanation with regard to why the Buddha stays in a particular place, why he moves. So when he feels that his need is done, okay, whatever he has to do, he has done it in a particular place, then he moves to other place to benefit other people. Okay, so now when Punna came to meet the Buddha, what happened? Ekamantang nisinnaku ayasmantang punnang mantani puttang bhagava dhammiya kathaya sandasati samadapesi samuttejesi sam aham sesi ataku ayasma punno mantani putto bhagavata dhammiya kathaya sandasito samadapito samuttejito sampasansiतो bhagavato bhasitang abhinanditva anumoditva uttayasana bhagavantang avivadatva padakkinang katva yena andavanang tenupa sankami diva vihareya. So when he came to meet the Buddha, Buddha gave him some instruction, right? And after that, after receiving the instruction, the Dhamma, he moved to Andavana, close to that place. Andavana, a forest for Diva Vihareya. Diva Vihareya, what is the meaning of Diva Vihara? Diva refers to day, right? Diva Vihara means day dwelling. But day dwelling for the ascetics is that they continue their practice in the forest. They don't get a pillow and arrange a mat and then sleep. Okay, that is Diva Vihara. Okay, now I think it will also take to go through all this. I'll just focus on this story and provide the commentarial exposition. Okay. Now, what happens is that first of all, what you can look at is that Punnamantane Buddha himself is a teacher. He is following the Buddha's teaching. He never met the Buddha. This is the first time he came to meet the Buddha, right? But before this meeting, his students came to meet the Buddha in Rajagaha, and they are all Arahants. Okay, they are established in these 10 talks, 10 subjects of discussion. One thing is that Punna did not accompany them. And there is explanation provided in the commentary why Punna did not accompany his students to Rajagaha. Why, when the Buddha moved to Savatthi, he went to meet the Buddha. So in the explanation, in the thinking of commentators, we see that, he did not accompany the Buddha. One of the explanation provided is that Buddha is considered as a Mahasamana, and normally when he is moving from place to place, he is accompanied by his disciples. So Punna purposely avoided doing that. He should accompany by his own disciples to meet the Buddha. So he did not feel it right. Okay. The other is from Kapilavat to Savatthi is closer than Rajagaha. Okay. It is another reason. Other reason mentioned is that Punna thought when a lot of people go together, there is a lot of discussion because they are going by walking, right? So people would get tired. They need food. They need resting place. It is not few hours journey. It is many days of journey. So he was thinking that there will be, conversation with regard to, for example, maybe we should stop now. And then after a few hours, we can start our journey. And some would say that, no, we can still walk few miles. And after that, we can stop. There can be this kind of, how do you say, differences of opinions. And he wanted to avoid that. Okay. So there are all kinds of reasons are mentioned. Anyway, he went to meet the Buddha. Another interesting thing you can understand from this explanation is that his disciples are Arahants. He is also an Arahant and a teacher. But when he met the Buddha, he received some more guidance from the Buddha. Okay, even though he is an Arahant. And he went for his day dwelling. And somebody informed Sariputta that, Punna came, he met the Buddha, and he went to Andavana for day abiding. Sariputta also followed him. Right? And Sariputta did not disturb him. He went to other place to have his day abiding. When it is evening, when the time for getting up from meditation, then Sariputta went to meet Punna. And he greeted Punna. And after that, he asked, Venerable, the question is not who is your master actually, under whom you have been practicing this brahmacharya life. Now here, different people have different opinions. For example, some of the people who focused on this sutta, Bhikkhu Analayo is one of them. He has been discussing it and saying that maybe Sariputta did not know that Punna has been following the brahmacharya life under the Buddha. That is why he asked him, under whom you have been carrying out your practice. But it is interesting that he probably overlooked the commentarial exposition. In the commentary, it says that, to begin the conversation, he asked the question, right? So it was a kind of a, technique followed by Sariputta, that first I should ask under whose guidance, under whom you have been practicing this brahmacharya life, and then he would engage in other discussions. That seems to be more logical. Why? If you look at the previous incidents, Sariputta was willing to meet Punna. He knows that this is Punna. He has been practicing the holy life, brahmacharya life under the Buddha. I need to have conversation with him. So clearly he knows. That is why he is following Punna. Otherwise he would ask, who is Punna? I want to meet him. That discussion is not there, right? Okay. And then they engage in the discussion of seven Visuddhi. Now the question, another question that is raised in the commentary is that, and I think if you are careful enough, you also can have this question, that Buddha was praising Punna, or rather his students praising Punna, because he is an expert in these 10 topics of discussion, and Sariputta knew about it. But when Sariputta met Punna, he was asking questions on 7 Visuddhi, not on 10 talks. What would be the reason? And these 7 topics, 7 Visuddhi becomes very, very interesting and important, because in the entire Pali Canon, the 7 Visuddhi is mentioned only in this sutta. Okay, you do not find as a set. You have especially first 3 Visuddhis mentioned in different places. Sila Visuddhi, Chitta Visuddhi, they are common occurrence. As a set of practice, 7 Visuddhi is mentioned only in this sutta. Okay, in a sutta in the Diga Nikaya, I think it is probably in the Dasuttara Sutta, there is a mention of 9 Parisuddhi. First 7 are these 7 Visuddhi. They are presented as Parisuddhi. So that is another occasion where you have mentioning of this with 2 more. Okay. But when you look at the commentary, you do not have explanation of 7 Visuddhi. You have explanation of 10 talks. The reasoning provided by Buddha Gosai is that I have explained these 10 Visuddhis in my Visuddhi Magga. So I'm not providing the explanation here. Okay, now if you go back to Visuddhi Magga, you just see that the Visuddhi Magga is presented in terms of Sila, Samadhi and Panya. If you look closely, you would find that it is presented in terms of 7 Visuddhi. Sila section correspond to Sila Visuddhi, Samadhi section correspond to Chitta Visuddhi, Panya section correspond to remaining 5 Visuddhi. Okay, so I will not provide any more, explanation. I will directly take you to that chart and you can understand it very clearly. So these are 10 talks and 7 Visuddhis, right? Yeah, so I think before that, I should say that in the commentary, when this question was raised, the explanation provided is that actually the 10 talks and the 7 Visuddhi are not 2 different things. Okay, one is equivalent to another. The difference is that something that is briefly spoken in one place are extended, in another place. And throughout the Pali literature, you would find that when talking about 4 noble truth, noble eightfold path, Tisusika, 3 training, Satta Bojjhanga, 4 Satipatthana, 7 Visuddhi, 10 talks, whatever, they are all related to each other. They are just different modes of explanation. And that is what is presented here. You see, this is from the commentary. Probably I'll show you the passage also. In the commentary, Buddha Gosai says that Purification of virtue refers to these four talks: apicca kata, samtutti kata, asangsagga kata, and sila kata or sila sampada kata. Purification of mind consists of aviveka kata, viryarambha kata, and samadhi sampada kata. And these remaining 5 purifications can come under this Anya Sampada Kata. Then the question is, what about these two? You do not find explanation of why these two are remaining, are excluded even in the commentary also. But if you look at the, as I said, other set of paths of practice, then you can come to understand that these are to be understood as necessary development or result after going through this practice. And in my opinion, these two correspond to Anupada Parinibbana. That is the goal of the practice, right, in the sutta. Okay, so they represent Anupada Parinibbana. Even if you look at their explanation, detailed explanation of what does it mean by talk of deliverance, what does it mean by talk of knowledge and vision of deliverance, what is the characteristics of Anupada Parinibbana. When you try to understand them in a comparative manner, you can. Yeah. So yeah, there is a lot more, discussion you can have based on the sutta and commentaries. I'm not going to go into that because we do not have enough time. I think this would give you some understanding of, how we should focus on a sutta, and then why commentary is important when you are carrying out your studies. Okay, so that was the purpose of today's discussion. If you have any question, you can ask me now. We still have, I think, 10 more minutes. Any question? Is Vichakana there?
Sure. Yes, teacher.
You are there. I thought you went for lunch.
No, no. For me, I have 30 minutes because here nearly 10:30.
Okay. Any question from the students here in the class? Chandra Kishore? Joy? You are talking about the citation? It depends on what edition of text you are following. If you are taking your statement, Pali statement from Pali Text Society book, there is a particular way of citing this text, for example. And of course, there is a standard way of citation. Some people say that you can just put your own way of citing, but there is a standard way of citation when you are referring to Pali text, for example, if you are referring to a sutta from Digha Nikaya, you put D for Digha Nikaya, and then you have 3 volumes. You refer to a particular volume from which you are taking the text, volume 1 or volume 2. You do not write volume, you just write 1 or 2, right? In Roman. And then you put page number. And this page number is from the text, published text. Okay. If you are taking your Pali statement from Chatta Sangayana, you put Chatta Sangayana full form, or you can just write CST4. This is version 4. And then you put exact page number or verse number. In the Chatta Sangayana, you put passage number or verse number. They do not provide page number, right? So that is how, and you can look at how other people have been doing it, you know, in writing. And this is one thing I wanted to mention. Probably I can just, you know, very quickly go to this suggestion. Yeah, my suggestion is that read scholarly essays and articles from journals, collected essays, felicitation volume, and so on. If you are willing to write a good paper yourself, you need to read how other people have written. Okay, so this is the best way. And if you are writing a thesis, read other theses on similar field, not on different field. So these are some of the names of scholars that I have mentioned. You may be familiar with this, or you can read writings of any other scholars. And this is one thing I would like to mention to you, is that people have been doing, you know, research on so many different topics, not just on some doctrinal topics, you know, or practices. For example, I found people have done, you know, research on the usage of musical instruments in the time of the Buddha. You see, games, for example, what kind of games people have been playing, all based on Pali literature. You know, usage of aorist, that is past tense in the Pali text, different usage of Pali text. Environmental ethics, concept of poverty, ritual in early Buddhism, mentioning of ritual, Pali case system, problems of time and temporality, the science of sukha, happiness, as explained in Pali text, problem of interpretation, text and context, Buddha's dealing with questions, etc. So these are some interesting topics that I came across that people have been doing research. So I wanted to bring them into your notice. Okay, I hope that yes. Okay. If you are taking other people's translation, you have to provide the names or the source. If it is from internet, the internet source. But it is not advisable to take internet sources most of the time, you know, because these translations that they provide in the internet in different websites, if they are translating and providing it, it is not, why it is not accepted is because it is not published under the supervision of a publication board and so on. It did not follow proper editorial process. Okay, whereas for the published text, there is normally an editorial board to check and approve, and then you have this publication. Okay, but I think in our case here, normally probably you can sometimes refer to this translation and this text in the website, but it is not very much, you know, encouraged or advised. Okay, but yes, if you are taking translation of other people, you have to mention it. Because Buddhist translation, for example, then you have a particular way of mentioning it. Bodhi, you know, middle length discourse, volume 1 or 2, maybe everything is in one volume, just page number, you can say that. Or if you are taking it from website, you have to copy it, copy the link. Sometimes it happens that you can find an article in a particular website. After some time, they for considered as authentic source. Okay, that's all for today's lecture on research methodology. I hope that this to benefit the class. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.